Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back, you lovely faces, to part 5 of the instance of the amazing document that Andy has sent to us. Right, there has been a few issues still with the microphone that people seem to not be able to hear me properly. All I can say is that the volume is up 100% on every single thing on my system, so it's either YouTube or you're going to have to turn the volume up on your phone. Everything else is coming through normal. There's nothing else I can do with that, I'm afraid. But we're going to jump straight into today's video, and we're going to have a little look at something that we should have added last time, but we didn't. So this is where we got to last time on page 8 about the text messages from the iOS system. And I should have asked this down because what it was, at 11:38 in the evening of when Whitney sent this to her sister, because it says sis in the photo. The answer is simply because 8th of April 2013, she was in Paris and on set with Kevin Costner filming 3 Days to Kill. On set, Kevin Costner in Paris, April 8th, 2013. At midnight in LA, the time in Paris would have been 9 AM the following day. This would have been an ideal time for Whitney to have sent her sister the text message. Miss Enriquez has clearly perjured herself in an attempt to assign ownership of the tampon applicator to Johnny Depp. The applicator in the dining table photo was almost certainly owned by Whitney, who lived in that same house, and is almost certainly the very same applicator as seen in Whitney's text photo of only 17 days later, which was most likely taken in that same house. Now we're going to go into the second photograph. As shown earlier, AH gave into evidence photographs 262 to 263, showing Johnny's powder at my house on orange, 22nd of March, 2013. This range represents at least 2 photos, but may represent more as the photo titles can also be sufficient with a letter, as earlier shown with the first such photo, labelled 263A. We can identify photograph 262 from Miss Law's cross-examination of Whitney, day 13 of the UK trial, in that, like photo 263A, it also showed 4 lines of powder, an applicator, and a pillbox inscribed property of JD. So, Justice Nicole, this is F894.262. What is the blue thing in the middle? It looks like a tampon applicator. And then the box, which says property of JD right next to it. It's almost them like saying, oh, well, this is Johnny Depp's box. Is it not? Because it does say property of JD. That's what they're doing it for. We also know from the testimony that photo 262 comes with metadata. But the time of the photo was not mentioned in testimony or given in any publicly available court documents. That photo again, now we got 2 different ones. Although at first glance both photos appear near identical, when they are viewed alongside each other, it can immediately be seen that some items have changed position between photos. Assuming that 263A is the first photo taken of the 2, then we see the ashtray has been moved from behind the pack of tobacco towards the chill glass of whiskey, and the roll-up cigarette has been placed in the ashtray. The packet of tobacco has also been rotated clockwise from its original position. As you can see, this is the first photo, then there's the second. Everything has been slightly moved. Obviously by here the ashtray, cigarette, tobacco. Now we got that by there. So it has been moved. While the image of the ashtray is magnified, it is very apparent that there is no evidence of cigarette ash in either. All that can be seen is what appears to be a few strands of tobacco which remain in situ despite the ashtray being moved. When magnifying the cigarette in both photos, it can be seen that it had not been lit, either before or after it was placed in the ashtray. In both enlargements, the rolling paper can be seen protruding from the front of the cigarette, as can strands of tobacco. The logical order in which the 2 photos were taken would be that the second photo is the one showing the cigarette to have been picked up on the table and placed in the ashtray. Other than the movement of the ashtray and packet of tobacco, there is no visually obvious movement of any other object in the photo, and there is no discernible change in the level of whiskey in either of the 2 glass containers. This begs the question as to why, if the scene was not staged by AH, did Mr. Depp, in the brief gap between the photos, return to the table only to move the ashtray and to place his unlit cigarette on it, and then to again leave the table? Why did he seemingly not take a sip of whiskey during his brief attendance? The obvious conclusion is that the drug scene was staged by her, and that between photos she placed a cigarette in the ashtray in order to give the scene more credibility. Now, we're going to look at the third photograph. Several media outlets published a third photograph of the glass dining table with the 4 lines of powder and the various objects on it, with some outlets stating the photo to be undated. There was no direct reference to this photo in any court testimony, nor was the photograph ever shown during the UK hearing. The time at which the photograph was taken was hence not publicly available at the time that this document was published. From AH's 7th witness statement, where she introduced these photos showing the powder and objects, it can only be summarised that the label of the photo is not 262 or 263A, shown previously, so it's likely to be one of the these two numbers, sufficient with a letter, 263B. The third photograph further bolsters AH's narrative, showing Mr. Depp's leather jacket on the back of what we are guided to believe is the chair in which he is sitting. So we got the jacket, we got all the stuff by here, candle holder, Miss AH's bent knee, the box is missing, and the Keith Richards CD is further on back on the back, which we did look at this in the stream as well. So Mr. Depp's green-brown khaki leather jacket, Mr. Depp's black wool beanie by there, on the paper. On the table to the right of his chair is a cigarette lighter. Directly in front of the chair is what appears to be Mr. Depp's beanie, conveniently placed on top of his newspaper, in front of which can be seen what appears to be a warm, stale glass of whiskey. The LA Times newspaper headline, Bell Trial Ends in Chaos, establishes the date of the publication to be 22nd of March, and thereby establishes that the photo was taken on or after that day. AH's bent knee can be seen in the bottom right corner of the photo, and establishes her to be sitting in the chair opposite to Mr. Depp's chair as she took the photo. However, the box inscribed property of JD is missing from the photo, suggesting that Mr. Depp had by then returned to its normal place of keeping. It is likely that the overnight toiletry bag shown in all 3 photos is also meant to be owned by Mr. Depp, as both AH and his sister lived at the property. And his curious placement to the centre of the dining table is possibly where we are guided to believe that this and the equipment are kept. When the 3 photos are viewed alongside each other, it is immediately apparent that both the seedy and chilled glass of whiskey, not wine because she's the one who drinks that, in photo number 3 are in a different location to that in photos 1 and 2. So we got 1 and 2 here, which is the ones that were seen in court, but this one wasn't. So, as we were saying, the CD has been moved from this photo to the edge. You've got the applicator and everything else has been moved, so it makes it look a little bit more like, we're going to place it like this, we're going to turn it round, we're going to move this slowly towards the camera so people can see it. But the thing I want to know and I want to ask is, this is 2013. This is 2 years before she married him. Why was she taking these photos then, if she wasn't planning on doing something towards him? It is also apparent that the locations of the ashtray and packet of tobacco in photo 3 are the same as that in photo 1, yet are in different locations to photo number 2, meaning that photo 1 and 3 are consecutive photos. Photo 1 and 2 must also be consecutive photos, as both the CD and chilled glass of whiskey are in the same locations in both, but in a different location to that of photo number 3. Photo 1 must therefore be the middle photo taken of the 3, with the first one being either photo 3 or photo 2. Makes sense that photo 3 would be the last taken, as the box is missing and has presumably been returned to its normal place of keeping. This would mean, however, that photo number 2 was taken first, leaving the puzzle as to why Mr. Depp would return to the table in photo number 1, only to remove the cigarette from the ashtray and place it on the table. And the puzzle with photo 3 being taken first is, why would Mr. Depp then retrieve his box and place it on the table, after having already cut the powder? And why would he at the same visit also move the CD to a different location on the toiletry bag? What other items moved between photos? To better determine the order of the photos, it is first necessary to determine exactly what has been moved between each shot. This can also be accomplished by drawing equivalent lines on each photo, all in the same plane of the glass top, and establishing where those lines intersect the various objects. We know only that the 4 lines of powder have not moved between the photos. These lines of powder will act as a good reference point across all photos. So we have 3, 1 and 2. So number 3 was the first one taken. Then obviously she put down the box and she's moved quite a few things around. Lines drawn on the same plane glass top within each photo will represent the true paths across the plane regardless of perspective or parallax. The above diagram shown equivalent lines drawn across the table surface of each photo. So these are what we got, ladies and gentlemen, with the table leg going by there and the table leg by there. This diagram shows magnified images of the equivalent sections of photo 3 and 1 above. So we have these ones by here, these are the ones we're looking at. So they're all the same. This is a little bit the same, and then you've got the card by there. The yellow line touches the edge of both the top glass and the plastic mug. It bisects the top of the applicator at the same point in both photos, showing that all 3 items have not moved relatively to each other. The green line touches the edge of the top glass and the edge of the right side of the applicator. In both photos, the green line bisects the 4 lines of powder, at the same point showing that the applicator has not moved between photos, thereby nor has the top glass or plastic mug. In photo number 3, the orange arrow shows the applicator to be pointing directly at the whiskey glass. However, in photo number 1, the applicator points above the glass, proving that the glass has been moved down the table. So the one he's on about is orange arrow, so it'll be the glass by here. So as you can see, it has been moved. It's crazy to even think of why this woman has done this, you know? Especially like we were saying earlier, 2 years before they got married. The red line passes along the top line of the credit card. In photo number 1, it bisects the top of the applicator. In photo 3, the red line misses the applicator completely, looking along the surface of the glass. The blue line passes through 2 corresponding points of the lines of powder. In photo number 3, the line intersects the bottom of the credit card, but in photo 1, it intersects the right side of the credit card. And we got this another one by here now, so you can see that this is where the credit card was. It's been moved slightly. Pillbox can be seen against the right side of the card, and this provides conclusive proof that the card was pushed forward by the pillbox when it was placed on the table. This categorically proves that photo 3 was the first taken, and hence that the box was later added to the table to embellish the scene. This is the one we got by here, guys, so as you can see, the box was put on there and it's moved it out of the way. The diagram shows a visual approximation of the location of the card before being pushed forward by the placement of the box. A further way to prove the order in which the photos are taken can be achieved from the movement of the shadow of the window frame across the floor tiles before the glass table. Now this is the one I absolutely love, but what we're going to do, we're going to finish this page and then we're going to finish the video, and because we are coming up to 14 minutes and we want to get this done. Shadow from part of the same window frame can be seen falling across the same tile in both photos number 3 and 2. From the shadow of the curled table leg, it can be established that the sunlight is shining in from the right of the photographs. So, these are what we got. So this one by here, you can clearly see that there's an outline of the shadow, which is what he's done by here, A and B, on the tile. Then by here, it's a bit of a bigger one. The sun must have been shining brighter here. As you can see, is right under the box. By marking the edge of the tile in each photo and also marking where the shadow intersects the tile and then superimposing one of those markings on the other, it can clearly be seen that as the sun has moved westward, the shadow in photo 2, marked in blue, which we were saying, can clearly be seen that the sun has moved, significantly moved to the right of the corresponding shadow in photo 3, marked in red. As we got by here, this is just an amazing part that Andy has done again. Andy has just done a fantastic job with all of this. He's putting the sun down, it's obviously going west, east to west for the sun. This is where it's going. This is not only giving further irrefutable proof that photo 3 was the first photo taken, it also shows that photo number 2, the last photo taken, was taken minutes later, not seconds, indicating that AH took some time in finding the box before placing on the table, during which time Mr. Depp was evidently not at the table. So we're going to end it by there, but we're going to come back obviously tomorrow, and we're going to have the chilled whiskey glasses and see how far we get there. But I do want to say thank you to each and every single one of you for coming along and watching these videos, because like I say, Andy has done a fantastic job, and without any of this, we wouldn't have so much information without Andy. It's just absolutely amazing, and my heart goes out to Andy. Like I said, he's done so many fantastic documents so far, and they're only going to keep on coming. If you are new to the channel, please like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you all next time.